they brought me on. It was sort of like to kind of give you guys a little bit of information. So what I can tell you is that I've been a part of a Microsoft Hackfest before because I used to work for government. I worked for King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office in Seattle, where I did my first Hackfest with Microsoft. And I've also worked for the state of Iowa with the Department of Natural Resources. So as you're going into this adventure, it's going to be great. You're going to love it. I would say that deal with the fact that you're going to be dealing with the user experience, start there first. They gave us 2 days. They're giving you guys a lot of time. So start off with your user experience and work your way back from that. Don't be afraid of the tools. They are really easy to learn. I'm not a coder. I only supervise coders. I might look like one, but I'm not. Even I got into the low code. I even got into the Power Apps. It's not that hard. So enjoy your time and have fun. Deal with the user experience. The challenges are really great. I think they're really awesome. Don't be afraid to, if you feel like you're running out of time, one of the things that my team did was that we focused on the things that we could get done and showcase, and the things we couldn't get done, we talked about. Just as a lessons learned. We got third place. Just saying, you're getting some great advice here. So yeah, do you guys have any questions for me, or John, would you like to speak?
Not much to add other than really excited to support this the Hackfest. One thing I did put in the chat window for any development teams that are joining in particular is an example that and some source code, which is on GitHub, particularly around leveraging Azure cognitive search capabilities of scanning through, significant amounts of documents. In some cases, the example that I'm sharing with, you'll see the example is photos, handwritten documents, and really to kind of translate that really quickly. In a way where to potentially kind of address, I think one of the first hack challenge that was shared around for Hawaiians who want to look at their own history and comb through some cases very very difficultly legible documents. So anyways, there's just one example that I want to share, but also just want to open it up if there are other questions or any ideas that you would like us to kind of talk about. It's been a long time since I've been a developer. I started my career actually in development, but that was over 25 years ago. Since then, I've moved into various other roles in Microsoft. But one thing that I can bring though is if I don't know the answer, I'll definitely do my best to find someone who can. So with that, thank you.
So it looks like we got a few questions in the chat box, but I think that we have time open that you can go ahead and come off mute and just go ahead and ask your question, and we'll try to answer it the best that we can. We have a question from, is it Arislan? Do you have a question?
Yeah, quick question. Does Microsoft provide Azure credits for use in this hackathon?
Yeah, Denise, that's a good question. I don't know if that was done through the code challenge specifically. I don't know, Denise, and maybe it's something I can follow up on our side. Typically, we've done in the past is we've done provide some level type of credits in Hackfest to help people create environments, but I don't know how we've sorted out prior to this.
Well, according to Joe, because he posted something in Slack, he was saying that the trial tenants for developing apps for the Power Platform will be provided. So I'm thinking you're going to be getting credits up front. Although it's only going to be like a certain time frame, he didn't put that in there, but he's going to be providing more information on how long you'll actually be able to utilize those. Does that help?
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions that we can do live? I see there's quite a few in chat, but let's see.
I got a question actually.
Okay.
So Microsoft, the Power Platform, the platform you guys were talking about, how easy is it to like integrate with your with applications?
Well, okay. Well, what kind of application are you referring to? Are you referring to trying to do an API where you're feeding data, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think API wise, yeah.
Well, they do have a component, and it's called Azure Bus, and I think that that is the piece that is a very awesome functional piece when it comes down to integrating and moving data. I was able to utilize that at King County when I was integrating data from one system to another, especially from one domain to another. And so there is that functionality there. How easy it is, I'm not the developer, but I can tell you that we were able to get it up and running.
All right, thank you. And I'm guessing I just kind of want to follow up on if you're going to be able to use, Azure for the hack with the previous question.
Azure for the hack. Let me go back. Let's see. I think you are going to be able to use Azure for the hack, but I'm going to confirm that for you, okay?
All right, thank you.
Yep, I'll take that on as a note.
Hey, Denise, do you know is anyone from the program team a part of our breakout? Like, I mean, I assume that if folks can use Google or AWS, they would be able to use Azure. I'm assuming that's the case.
I'm pretty sure that they're going to be able to use Azure. I know that he said tenant, and so I associate tenant with Azure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to say that without confirming it.
Okay.
Because yeah, I'm still, in that learning stage.
No worries.
But I'll confirm it. I think the answer is yes.
Yeah. Actually, I have a question for the participants. Within your school or, obviously, or university, do they provide you an Azure environment, whether it be a subscription, to help to build scenarios out? Or is the expectation that you create your own Azure environment?
No, I don't think we weren't given Azure credentials or anything.
Okay. So it sounds like that in submitting the competition, you just if an environment isn't provided by your school, that you would create your own or use your own. So with that, I did post on screen a link to a $200 credit when you create your account, and I'll post my email address. And obviously, Denise and I need to follow up to make sure it's we're not breaking any rules that would disqualify your participation. But then I'm happy to follow up to figure out how to expand the credit option beyond the $200. So if you can send me an email, that way I can track it and then also make sure I follow up with you directly.
So do you guys have any other questions in regards to the HackFest and Microsoft products and Power Apps? You guys have any-
Yeah, I guess
maybe
I'm.
for me.
Yeah. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I'm not entirely sure what a Power App is.
Well, I think the best way I can explain Power Apps is that it gives you the ability, like if you're an original coder, you coded probably in C# or you coded in Python or Ruby or any of the other languages where you're just doing hard coding. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Power Apps is like a tool that you can log into and you can start picking parts that you want to have in your particular app. And it has a mobile capability. So I'm not actually writing the code. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
So is it sort of like Squarespace or something like?
It's a little bit more robust than that. I mean, like, because Squarespace is something like it's more like it's a web-based type of situation when it's comes to website. This is something that you can actually, like, here's an example of what we did. When I was at King County, we took our Help Desk Plus system, which was built on a SharePoint platform, and we were able to migrate that very quickly into Power Apps and make it a mobile app. And we didn't have to do any coding
Okay.
because it was able to just already do all the conversions. So when you're talking about, like, and I said web parts because I've dealt with SharePoint a great deal, and they do web parts. It is really about taking parts that you want to put into a whole and make something happen. And the other thing that was really great about Power Apps is that it has templates. So you don't even have to like create something from scratch. You can go look at a template and be like, oh, let me figure out how to modify this and re-engineer it into what I want. So I didn't find myself writing code, but it had like a lot of interesting ways of being able to be integrated with and being able to transfer data. So it's a little bit of a different play. I think I would call it, if you were to classify it from an application development perspective, I would call it rapid deployment. Rapid development, rapid deployment.
Okay, I think I understand. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? So just to let you guys know, Joe Clancy will be working with you guys on Saturday, October 31st. He will be making a lot of information available in Slack, so please check out Slack. And of course, I will be getting with him in regards to any questions you have for me that I cannot answer for you today, and to make sure he puts those in Slack as well so that you get those answers. Is there anything you want to ask me or John about Microsoft while we're here? Okay. What else? I mean, John, what else can we tell them about Microsoft? So,
Yes. Now, for those that have additional questions, please do stick around and ask. And you also, just as a reminder, check out some of the other sponsor breakout rooms. This is a time you can roam around between the different sponsor breakout rooms, okay?
Yeah. Hey, my apologies. I was muted, and I was muted in two places. So hopefully people can hear me now.
we can hear you.
To your question, Denise, and I would say, like, in a time of this pandemic with COVID-19, I've seen transformation happening in government faster than they've done than ever. Projects that typically would take years have been having to be deployed within months, if not weeks. And a lot of that effort is using technology. So the individuals who are competing and investing time in this effort, I mean, your time and effort and passion is not wasted. It is an amazing time to to get involved, and yeah, it's impressive. So, with that, Microsoft itself, as well as, we have competitors who are here, but at the same time, we're all have a shared mission around how to work with the state of Hawaii, the city and county of Honolulu, and other jurisdictions within on island to really figure out how to impact the residents and constituents on island. So. Yeah, Mary. So I believe it sounds like you're our host. Some questions came up with regards to the ability to use cloud services, Azure specifically. I'm assuming that same thing applies to Google and AWS. Is there any exclusion for participants to use a cloud service?
I'll have to check back with Thelma or Sheila because I'm not sure. Yes.
Hi, Mary. Sorry, this is George. I'm also on the team. I'm actually the lead technical reviewer as well. There's no restrictions on any cloud service, as far as you know. So, like, use Azure, use Google Cloud, AWS,
Great.
Salesforce.
Oh, great. Thank you, George.
So is there any advice or guidance that you would like from me or from John, and as you're going forward with any of your challenges that you guys are thinking about? I guess my question is to you guys is like, what challenge is like really speaking to you the most?
My group's been thinking about doing the data center privacy and security challenge.
Okay.
Not entirely sure why we agree on that. We haven't. Not sure why it sounds interesting, but another for me personally is the gamification of the archives. Just because I have a very deep interest in history, and sort of database related stuff is sort of what I'm best at. Problem is that our group isn't the most creative bunch. So we're sort of struggling figuring out how we would gamify that.
If I can make any recommendations, I would say start off with the user experience. Think about what the user wants to see, and you're a user, so you can sit back and say, if I was the person utilizing this, what would I want to see? And that kind of helps narrow things down. You only have so much time, so you're going to have to keep a realistic scope. So always keep the user experience in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, Colin, the gamification piece, I don't have a good perspective on how to help you with that, but with regards to be able to scan, and I don't know if the component is exposing a sample set of artifacts from the archives, but take a look at the link in the GitHub source code for the JFK demo, or in fact, it's actually a production environment. So take a look at that. There's actually a link to the demo where you can do certain word searches. It'll scan through pictures. It'll scan through written documents as well as digital artifacts too.
Okay. Is that link also in Slack as well?
I don't know. Denise, I don't have access to Slack, and I don't know if you can repost that.
I can repost it. You already put the link in there, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So I'll repost the link.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab it right now.
Yeah. And that was it. When I first heard about that challenge, that was an interesting one because there's a few states. One state's already completed their work using that same cognitive services for their almost identical to the archiving solution, where they have a bill of sales in that state that are almost 200 years old, handwritten and in their archive in digital format. And what was impressive to see with that cognitive services of taking cursive, if you will, was a close to 90% hit ratio on conversion to from accuracy perspective to text. Where if you would use normal OCR or something similar to that, that's kind of off the shelf, it was probably less than 2-3% conversion.
Yeah, I also in general sort of have a growing interest in like image processing and computer vision and stuff like that. So it's definitely something that interests me.
Okay, is anybody else interested in any of the other challenges and want to talk about your approach as well, or your initial thoughts?
Had a real quick follow-up question. There was a mention about a state was using the cognitive search. Which state was that?
California actually was using it for that. I think state libraries. Yeah, and in fact, they actually use that for particular to make a lot of their content. The original purpose was to make their websites ADA compliant. And given the fact that they have tens of thousands of documents, they need a way to be able to scan through and scan those documents, at a fairly high volume, but also at a fairly high accuracy rate.
So that was the state libraries, not the county libraries.
No, it was, a state.
Thank you.
And while I'll do is I'll try to take a look at an external link where you actually can take a look at it in real life. So give me a sec, I can find it for you.
Are there any other questions that we can talk about while John's looking for that?
Tough crowd.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys will have a lot more questions as you're getting, all the training that you're getting ready to do and start getting into your teams.
Yeah, and then also just the breakout, waiting for some of the breakout rooms to discuss the challenges themselves to get a better idea of what's expected.
Yeah, you're going to spend a great deal of time just thinking about your approach anyway, and needing help with that, and making sure you get your environment set up appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned
Go ahead.
Sorry, you mentioned earlier that you've been with Microsoft for roughly a month. I was just curious, how did you make that transition from King County over to Microsoft?
Well, the transition for me wasn't. For me, it was a good transition because I've always been doing government and work. And so going over to Microsoft and still continuing to do government work and work with a technology that I've known since 1996, that wasn't hard for me. I mean, like, if anything, the work is learning the company, learning how they do things. And so I'm in that month of trying to, they say ramp up. So I'm trying to ramp up and trying to figure out where things are, figuring out how I bring value. And so a lot of it is about learning the company, but the work itself, working with government, that part, that transition wasn't hard for me. I've always felt a passion to work for the people, and I will always continue to want to do work in that area. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And then finally, what made you pivot from King County to Microsoft?
I think because I was always working for one organization for so long, and I was always, when you work for one organization and you see the greater picture where it's supposed to be about all government, it's very challenging because you're always trying to fight to get something. And I wanted to pivot where I can say, I already know that individual organizations are struggling to get overall technology and innovation. And I wanted to be on the other side behind, with a company behind me to help bring that to the table for them.
Cool. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, I just posted a link. I couldn't find the site I was actually looking for. I mean, if I have some more time, I'll try to find it. But there's a link to an article on TechWire that talks about the use case of applying the Azure Cognitive Services in the state of California. And in the article are links and examples throughout the state that have used the same service for that very purpose. So please take a look. And if I can find the demo that can pull up the individual unique articles, or no, it's not actually a demo. It's actually a real life site. So if I can find that link, I will post it shortly.
But see, you guys don't understand. You got a special, John is an awesome person because he's been with Microsoft for 20 years. You should be asking him a lot of questions right now. I'm new, but he's been there for a while.
I have a question. Can you recommend any tutorials or places that the attendees can go to before next Saturday to get a little bit of a heads up on Power Apps?
That's a really good question.
Actually, I'm working on it right now, Denise. So
Thank you.
actually, I'm posting something in the chat window right now. There's actually, oh shoot, now I'm losing track of. Sorry. Okay, I lost it here. Okay, so there's a link. Is that hopefully it posted here? Okay,
Yep.
did it post? Okay,
Yep.
so if those folks would like to go to Microsoft Learn, we do have a website that has online learning modules, and for Power Apps, but also other areas within the Microsoft technology portfolio. There's also free online certification courses as well. So please take a look at that. There's a module on Introduction to Power Platform, and then that can actually take you through examples on application development, in particular within the Power Platform environment. So Mary, that was a great question. So
Thank you, John. And looking at the clock, we're just about ready to transition over to the challenge sponsors. So any last minute questions before we transition over to that?
Dr. Smith, I guess since I have you here, going back to that question about sort of getting outside help, was that more you just generally saying don't have other don't have friends and family work on the project with us, or I guess sort of what were you thinking when you talked about not getting help from friends and family and stuff like that?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little later as a class.
Okay.
So any more questions for these wonderful folks from Microsoft? We're so lucky to have you all here. All right, well, thank you so much, John and Denise. Thank you for your valuable information, and we look forward to the workshop next week. Okay, now we're gonna transition over to the challenge sponsor rooms, okay?
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Great.
We'll make sure
Thank
all
you,
the
John
links
and
are posted
Denise.
in the Slack, so you guys will have the links there. I'll make sure that they're there for you guys.
Thank you.
You're
And are
welcome.
any of you guys able to move me around, because I'm on mobile, so I don't have access to like a list of the different breakout rooms.
All I know from Zoom is like once you leave, it's supposed to take you back to the original room.
Right, and in the main room, if they can
Yeah.
physically move you if you don't have the breakout rooms. Okay, so once you leave this room, it'll take you back.
Okay.
It was nice meeting you guys, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any last minute rooms, let me know. We're going to be closing it in about 5 to 6 minutes. And then returning back.
Matthew Kitts, thank you so much for updating your Zoom client and reopening. That was awesome. So a few people got updated now, so we'll have a few less people, a couple hands, maybe just a couple dozen, but there'll be less for you to have to deal with. Caroline was suggesting that Daniel from Google, she said his internet can be a little laggy where he is, and that might have been causing the problem too.
I wonder what's going on there.
So Caroline, we're keeping the the sponsors breakout rooms up until 12:45, and then we're going to reopen the sponsor breakout rooms at 1. Slight modification.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, we're leaving the sponsor breakout rooms till 12:45. We will shut them down at 12:45. That should give them plenty of time to finish up. And then we will reopen the challenge sponsor info sessions at 1 o'clock.
Okay, so a 10-minute.
A bunch of people who did that stopped having problems. So hopefully we can do that.
Since I have some presenters in here, if you want a recording of your session in the next one, please remember to hit record. Your monitors are in there. They should be also reminding you as well. Everybody should be co-hosts and be able to do that for yourself. And hopefully the co-host remains with you the way I set it up earlier during the day. If you've come in and out and you don't see, if you can hit your participant icon on the bottom of your navigation bar, or that navigation bar, you can see if you're a co-host, if you are a presenter. If you're not, please let me know. You should have a digit in front of your name as well. And all the ones that I've seen have co-hosts. If not, please let me know. We can do that right now while we're waiting.
I'm good. Thank you. This is Adam.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks for coming back.
Oh, I wouldn't miss this. I'm bringing a guest, though. She's not registered. Is that okay?
Bring her on in.
Okay.
Sheila Wei Hang wants to go to Microsoft.
Oh, okay.
We finished up on Microsoft.
Oh, you did?
So hopefully she can see that. Or hear that, I should say. So you're all finished?
Ready?
Great. Go ahead.
So Microsoft finished already, right? The end already.
Yeah, sounds like it. Mary, I think you were in Microsoft?
Yes.
No,
yes.
I was not.
Yeah.
Oh, how about Google?
I think we have just 1 more minute left for
Yeah.
presentations.
Yeah. So we're going to be bringing everybody back within the next minute or so.
Sheila, you're a superstar.
So I have a question. Are the recordings of the different pitches and the governor's introduction?
Yes.
So where can you access that?
You won't access that until next week when I get it all
Okay.
uploaded
No,
to
no, no,
YouTube and all that stuff.
Okay, I was just asking. All right.
Oh, it just, we have it. It's got to compile. It's going to be huge. One of my associates, Jarrett Yip, is going to be breaking it up into the various pitches. And then the main one, the main content, that'll be available too for details. And I'll be posting the individual YouTube videos on hack.hawaii.gov, as well as the pitch decks as well will be there. And any other materials they supply me will be both posted on the Slack channel and the hack.hawaii.gov site. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be closing the breakout rooms in 10. So whoever, are you next up, Thelma?
Yes, so I'm getting ready.
All right, so 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And thank you very much for people remaining in the main room. I had a blast. Hopefully you had a blast seeing me panic and appreciate it. Here we go, closing it now. They should be back in 10 seconds or so. As soon as that happens, I'm going to go closing it out and then reopening the other, or recreating.
I'm assuming everybody can see my screen, right?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Just double checking now that it's really important again. Thank you.
They should be all here.
Okay, everybody back. Thank you. We had a few hiccups, not surprising. So thank you for your patience. We had extended the sponsored breakout rooms till 12:45. We're in the process of setting up the challenge sponsor info session rooms. We'll have those done shortly. And we will open those rooms at 1 o'clock. I'm going to strongly encourage you at this time to go to hack.hawaii.gov, click on the link for Zoom download, and upgrade your Zoom application. It cannot be a browser. You probably won't be able to see it on your cell phone. And the fewer people we have to traffic cop, the better your experience will be. So you may find that you have to restart Zoom completely. You'll be able to get back into the event after that. In some instances, we've had people who had to restart their computer completely before it took effect. So for the next 12 minutes, I would strongly encourage you, if you were one of the people we had a traffic cop, I don't want to try to explain to you how to check your version, but you might want to just go to Zoom and download it and do it again and start all over and see if that helps you. It would just make your experience and be able to jump around the rooms easier. I apologize for this. This is a new capability of Zoom. You have to be on Zoom, right? You can't be on some other version of something. So thank you for your patience. Sheila worked her poor little fingers to the bone. So I hope at some point everybody says mahalo to her, who she had to shunt around. We were trying to avoid that like a plague. Thank you, Sheila, for all that hard work.
We're all good. It was fun.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, we had one guy yesterday who was working perfectly because he came and did our test session, not working today. And then the other guy couldn't see anything, couldn't get in, couldn't get a join button. And now today's working perfectly. So what the heck? Who knows what's going on? We're all technical people here. This was released like 3 weeks ago. So I guess I'm not totally surprised. And I thank you all for your patience. I do want to point to you to the screen that's up right now. These are the 6 breakout rooms that will be coming open. Hawaii State Archives, First Lady Dawn Amano Ige's Connections Hawaii State Resources, University of Hawaii's Visualization and IT Building Security Guest Assessment, Nick Hawaii COVID-19 chatbot, and the Office of Enterprise Technology Services IT Portfolio Roadmap. So those will be opening in 10 minutes. So you have 10 minutes to do whatever you can to find out what you're doing next. Again, we will move you around. It's just you have to be patient, and that might limit how much time you can interact with the various challenge sponsors. Challenge sponsors, I will say again, just to back up what Sheila already said, please, if you can, try to remember to hit record. And if you have any questions on how to upload that, where to upload that, either ask me today. I'll be staying on past the 2:30 end in case anybody has any questions. And then we can show you where to upload that. But the page we shared with you will give you all your answers. But again, I'm happy to help if there's any help needed. Okay. It's kind of all I have to say for the moment. See y'all too.
Hey Thelma, this is Jen Lee from NIC Hawaii. Can I be upgraded to co-host, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Carol, Sheila, as host, could you please upgrade? That was Jolie, right?
Jen Lee.
Jen Lee, sorry for the mispronunciation.
No worries.
Sheila has to be host because she's manhandling the breakout rooms, and thank God it's on her plate, not mine. Sheila, you made him host instead of co-host. So
You got a promotion.
Yeah, so I guess
know,
that's
big promotion.
She might be in a breakout room, so.
No. If you could give me back, I'm in the middle of doing the breakouts, and I was like,
Yeah.
what happened? It just went belly up.
So Jen Lee, please pass the host back to her. It'll keep you as, and then she'll make you co-host. Okay.
Sure thing. Who is that again?
Sheila.
Sheila. Okay.
It's showing up as
support.
There we go. I got it.
Thank you. I was like,
Make
what
host.
happened?
Yeah.
Everything went belly up. Oh, it was unreal. I was like, what? Okay, there you go.
Ooh, Garrett.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Garrett, I have a quick question for you, but I want to ask it to you privately. How do we do that?
Yeah.
send a chat directly to him?
Oh,
No, I can do it that way, but I didn't want to really try to do it that way. Okay, let me see if I can do it that way.
You can
all
tell
right, Thelma, just so
Yeah.
you know, I'll need a couple extra minutes. It just wiped out all of what I just did.
Yay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll move as fast as I can.
You do what you have to do, dear. Do what you have to do.
Sorry about that.
So Garrett, I'm gonna text you something.
Okay.
Or how about this? I'm gonna Slack you a question.
Got
Okay?
it. Go.
Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Okay. You can't see my screen right now, right? I'm showing something else. Yes. I want to keep it private, and then I put it up on the screen, right?
Okay, now we're all interested.
I'm anxious.
Now, thanks a lot, Adam. Now I'm blushing on top of everything else.
Hey, I'm here for comedic relief. You guys knew that coming in, and you asked me anyway.
Oh God, thank you for keeping me sane. Okay, Garrett, here I go.
So everybody's still wondering what it is.
I'll explain it as soon as we come up with a final answer.
Yeah, it's cool. Did you get it?
Yeah, but I have to ask you further. Sorry.
Okay.
Hey, now, no fair.
I'll tell you guys what it is.
Either,
as soon as we
either
have
you
a dis-
share with everybody or nobody. Didn't you learn that in kindergarten?
So the bowl of candy's at my front door. You're all welcome to come get it.
Cam, do you want to be assigned to HACC?
Yes.
Cam,
Okay.
you want to? Okay, I'm on. This should work. All right. All right, I made it. Woohoo! All right, so right now, I have the rooms almost ready to roll. If any of the
Good Lord.
presenters, have not been able to do breakout rooms or see the breakout rooms, please go ahead and unmute your mic. If you should not be able to see breakout rooms at this time, just so you all know. I have not opened up the rooms yet. Okay. But if you could not before, let me know. Adam, I've got you already taken care of.
Thank you.
And it
So I
should
got
work.
into RevCom, so I should be fine.
Yeah. Yes. If I did not help you out and you were moving around freely, you should be good.
Yes, I'm having a good Saturday.
Yes. Unbelievable, Michael. Unbelievable. All right. So Thelma, I'm ready to go. Let me know.
So the mystery's not yet solved. Garrett's gonna have to call me. I have to talk with him about this. It's again nothing too secretive. I just don't want to make it a wide announcement until the decision's been made.
Got it.
So the rooms are open. Is that what I'm hearing? Or you're getting ready to open the rooms?
No, I don't open it until you're ready to open it.
Okay. We said 1
Make
o'clock.
any
so let's give it a
announcements
couple
or
minutes.
anything?
Nope, no other announcements. I've already done that. I can do it again if you'd like. If you like. If you want to get, if you want to, Caroline.
Sorry. Yeah, Ken, she just opened it and then right at 1, let people know. So just pull the, press the button, Sheila, so we see the room.
Right?
Do
Okay.
it, do it.
Awesome. Well, enjoy your time with the challenge sponsors. They are great experts and that can answer your questions. And again, if you remain in the room, if you don't see the breakout rooms, when I open up this, well, I'm going to open up right now, button press. If you do not see the breakout rooms, please let me know and I'll try to get you in there. Some of the presenters.
Hey, Mary.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good to see you.
Looks like recording is on. Good job.
All right. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the challenge sponsor for UH Campus Occupancy Challenge.
So, Mary, just to make sure, you did hit recording, right? Looks like we're getting a few people in.
Yes. Welcome, come on in. Are you guys excited? The HACC kickoff day.
Right. I'm gonna mute for a second, Mary, as the
Okay.
folks come in.
All right. All right. Welcome to the UH Campus Occupancy Visualization Challenge. Glad everybody's here. We'll get started in a few moments, giving everybody a chance to get into the breakout room that they're interested in. Everybody having a good time so far? All right, so remember with your breakout rooms, you can talk to one challenge sponsor, get some information. You can roam around to others if you're, if you want to find out more about other challenges.
I had a question. So you mentioned having access, we will be getting access to some anonymous network information. Can you tell us a bit more about what the data kind of looks like?
Hey, sorry, I'm back. Looks like a decent crowd. 18.
One question came up already, Garrett, about the anonymous data that you were talking about.
Right. Okay, yeah, so I can. And actually, while some of the other conversations were going on, I actually already posted a sample on the Slack channel, as well as I actually sent a whole folder of stuff to George, who's gonna, I think he's gonna put it on the GitHub, so that the data is pretty available. So it is, the data sets that we generated for this are summarized data. It's summarized, so for each, there's a bunch of spreadsheets. Each spreadsheet is tied to a specific, I think, 3-hour segment of time. And for each of the access points, so each of the access points is a row. The access point is identified by building and then typically a room location. So it's you know, it's not coded or anything. It's just described with the building name and something about either the building name and the room number, or a location, say if it's outdoors. And then it has 2 columns of data. One that is the total number of devices that were associated with the total number of unique devices that associated with that access point for that 3-hour window, and the max associations, the maximum number of associations during that period of time. So again, it's very summarized data, highly summarized. We clearly have more detailed levels of data. We thought it was very important to stay away from the track the specific device across the across the campus and across the different locations. There, while that's technically possible, we have chosen not to do that, at least at the current point in time. Again, if we can make useful summary data available, since this is coming off of our live production operations, I am willing to entertain other slices of the data if it's if a team or team thinks it's useful. We can have that conversation, but I do want to hold the line on making sure that the individual devices are not not identified. So hopefully that answers the question. I think Eric asked the question. Does that help? And again, I did drop a sample of one of the time slices directly into the Slack channel for this challenge, and I believe George is going to load up the full folder on the GitHub. Okay, cool. We found the CSV. Good. And again, this is very highly summarized. So I actually had my folks take it. I'm trying to remember. It was kind of the first 2 weeks of the semester-ish, or maybe the second and third week of the semester. So there's clearly activity on campus, not the same as during a normal semester, but there is activity on campus, including faculty, staff, as well as students that are connecting in particular areas. Obviously there are folks that are hardwired into the network, so this doesn't collect that because this comes off the wireless network. I also dropped in the URL to our Manoa wireless map, so you can actually see, kind of get a bird's eye view of where the particular access points are. The map was updated over the summer to show coverage in external areas too. So while the dots you see don't reflect the external, they don't reflect external locations of wireless access points, but they do reflect where signal strength samples were taken. So in the aggregate, especially if you zoom out, you can kind of tell where there's decent or not so decent outdoor coverage. As just as an FYI, we are in fact with some of our federal COVID funds or CARES funds, we actually are not only on the Manoa campus, but on all of our campuses, supplementing outdoor coverage as well. So probably by, I think some of that will start hitting actual coverage and get installs by the end of the year. So even though there are gaps right now, the gaps could be one of two things. Either we don't have coverage in that particular outdoor space, or we didn't measure it in the outdoor space. So that's kind of an ongoing project for us. But the idea was, with this outdoor coverage, the idea was gives more people space to spread out. We had outdoor use already, and we're in particular trying to boost coverage on campus in outdoor spaces where we don't have coverage. So this includes strengthening some of our parking lot areas. And I mean, if you've been on the Manoa campus for any length of time, you know there's a bunch of locations where people are gathering. One of the newest spaces next to Life Sciences, the new building on East West Road, the next directly between Life Sciences and Kennedy, that new grassy area, actually included a set of wireless access points specifically to cover that outdoor grassy area, because that was designed as an area for students and faculty staff to gather or to hang out between classes, or you know, even if conversations continue outside the classroom itself. Those are areas that were important in the design of the original Life Sciences complex. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Other questions come up or come to mind. Let's see. I would encourage you folks to, you know, hop into the UH occupancy thread. I see at least a handful in there so far. Good question. What kind of data would you want to visualize? So, you know, the challenge in this one is really not so much about bits and bytes on collecting the data, because we already have data sets available. The challenge is about how do you, or what kind of widgets can you create to help us visualize areas that people are gathering in, and maybe it's variable based on time of day. Maybe it's variable based on you know, locations both inside and outside the buildings. You know, obviously some of the data is people that are transiting through an area, so that's useful as well. But to try and figure out, for example, what buildings or areas are high use, what buildings or areas are not high use. We do have fairly good coverage on all the classrooms. So it would be interesting to see if there are, for example, buildings that are either not occupied or very thinly occupied, just because nobody's in there, based on scheduling and based on the habits of how folks are walking around campus or folks are gathering on campus. I'm also expecting that we see some ideas of where students and faculty and staff are gathering. So, you know, ideas of where those gatherings happen, I think would be really useful. Could be, as you know, so one way to do this is kind of heat map-ish, just to show the locations, you know, red, yellow, green in a particular area. If it's more crowded, it goes to red, and then how that varies over time. So we might have certain patterns that happen in the mornings. So for those of you that walk around campus, you know that the Tai Chi people still, you know, hang out even when they're not supposed to, when we're locked down, but and they hang out on the lawn next to Kennedy. I actually don't know if they all carry devices, but if they did, you would see that. If it changes in the middle of the day, and as well in the afternoons and the evenings, you know, the expectation is this kind of a bell curve thing, but given the number of people that we see hanging out, walking around in the late afternoon, early evenings, that may not be true as well. So again, trying to figure out where some of these concentrations may occur. And the challenge is really around the visualization component. Again, it's not so much just raw code, but it's trying to figure out what the presentation layer looks like that could make it a value. We could look at, either filtering or using the data in different ways. And again, as I talked a little bit in the front of this, I am open to try and provide different slices of the data if it's useful. We can have that conversation with any of the teams that start to gel. Does that help? Hopefully that helps. Looks like a couple of additional people have joined us. Looks like we got a pretty good number of the folks here that have joined the Slack thread, which is great. So I'll take a look at that. And again, some of the a real small sample of data was directly uploaded to the channel, and George actually has the full folder that he's going to upload to the GitHub. Other questions are I'm guessing, I think I see some familiar names. I'm guessing a lot of folks are UH students. Looks like we got a pretty good mix. Good question. What's the intention? What are the intentions or use for the data? So the use of the data is around, in fact, there's several uses. The use of the data is around trying to understand if we really have and can focus our resources in particular spaces, if we have a lot of concentrations that are in areas that are poorly connected right now. So from a coverage point of view, if we see a lot of gatherings that are in some of our fringe coverage spaces, we can actually work to install more coverage in the areas that we think the data is pointing us to. If we see rooms or blocks of rooms, or for that matter, buildings that are literally empty for the most part, we can take a really hard look at maybe redeploying resources so we can support our students and our faculty where they are versus where they're not. Audience would be primarily our facilities people, my IT infrastructure people, general public. I'm not sure how useful it would be for the general public. So general public, I think, would have interest in some of our coverage maps to determine or to see where coverage is present, so that they could go to those areas if they needed to get connected. Most of our campuses most of our wireless networks, with a couple of exceptions, most of our wireless networks do require authentication. So it's not something the general public would be able to just walk on and use, but this is anybody in the UH community. There's a number of those folks around. So for anybody that has UH credentials, you can walk on and use the campus wireless. And in general, as long as you have pretty good coverage, our backend infrastructure is pretty robust. We have ISP class, commercial ISP class connections to the internet. So it is a pretty good place to go if you need to do downloads. If you need to reload or do pretty significant Windows updates, not a bad place to do it, as opposed to your home network, so you don't have to compete with TV and other streaming in your house. So audience is primarily folks that would manage resources that support our UH campuses. The utility of the app could be much more broad than that, however. So anybody that has or manages a network that logs these connections, which is basically everybody. but anybody that has a network that logs connections like this could provide the same level of raw data. So this could be useful for any other organization that manages its network. This could be useful even at a carrier level. You know, if they decided they wanted to figure out what areas of their network is heavily used and maybe someplace they should provide additional resources. I don't know. So I'm looking at the live tracking question. We could, because the logs are captured real time. I guess it depends. It depends what the visualizations might look like. Any other questions? See. Looks like the attendance has been pretty stable for a while. And so again, for folks that join a little bit later, this is primarily about the visualization component. Raw data is available and is posted. Hopefully the full data set will be posted fairly soon. George is actually very excited about receiving a data set, so that's pretty cool. And again, I'll remind all of the teams that are thinking of working on this, and while I'm not willing to distribute, data that might intrude on privacy, I am willing to take other slices of the data. So, taking a look at the kind of data that we can make available, and if there are other suggestions that the teams feel would be useful for the apps that are being generated and would provide value from a visualization point of view, talk to me about it. Ask me. And again, I'm pretty willing to be open about it. How is the location of the individual APs represented? In the data, the data actually shows the building name. This is Manoa campus data. The data shows the building name as well as the something about the location of the access point, typically a room number in the building, or if it's outdoor facing, it'll be marked as saying outdoors. It's all in plain text, so you should be able to figure out where the X or how the APs are laid out. The map, the wireless map that's available publicly for Manoa, it's actually at hawaii.edu/wireless/map. That map actually has a bird's eye Google Maps overlay that shows the building, so you can zoom in and zoom out just like a regular Google Map thing. The coverage on the map is just shown as building green or not green, but the data that's provided is by individual AP. Okay, all good questions. Hopefully somebody will come up with something. Let's see. And George just messaged me that the full data set has been uploaded, so it's on the GitHub. If you go to the Slack thread, he actually has the link to the GitHub where the full data set is located. So everybody can can dive in and again, tell me if it's useful. If if other things might be useful, then let me know. How are folks doing? How is everybody? How does everybody like this format? I know it's a little hard. One of the great things about doing this kind of thing in person is you literally, you literally cluster in physical groups. You know, if like when we were at the East West Center, it's pretty easy to have ad hoc conversations. So that's kind of the thing that's a little bit more difficult here. We have the breakout rooms, but it's still a little hard. Oh, good, Leighton. I think it sounds like you took a look at the set. Good. Hopefully it's useful. The file names indicate the date and time, and these are all CSV files. And again, within the file, each one, I forget our exact number. I think we're about 3,200 access points on the Manila campus, something like that, 3,300. Yeah, 3,215. There you go. Alrighty, other questions, suggestions, bouncing ideas around. Hopefully, folks have teams in mind. I think some of the teams have started to gel. But folks that are not yet on the team, use the HACC app to try and get things connected together. Yeah, that's so I've been actually challenging to Leighton's thing that he just posted in the chat. I've actually been trying to figure out how to make our maps better for a lot of years now. The current one that has the outdoor overlay is kind of cool because it starts to address some of the areas that potentially might be useful for us. One of the things, so this is interesting, this is actually a feature we added just over the summer. One of the things that drove the outdoor mapping was, if you remember, in the late spring and into the summer, we were having a lot of conversations about how do you disperse people on campus if you still need to have classes in person. And one of the things that started to come up is, we'll just move our class outside. We'll, basically pick up the whole class and go out and hang out under a tree someplace or on the grass. And of course, the technology guy says, there's no outlets out there. I'm not sure where the wireless connections are. So that's where some of these, some of the outdoor coverage mapping happened. And in fact, after we did an initial pass of the mapping, we implemented coverage in several of the outdoor areas because we identified some dead spots actually in the center of campus. Some of the locations, most of the locations are serviced by access points that are physically inside buildings that bleed over coverage to the outside. We have a small number of access points. We actually experimented with one probably 15 years ago now in one of those, one of our old blue light stations. So if you know the emergency call boxes that are located in various places around campus, we actually stuck one in an emergency call box probably, again, probably 15 years ago now, to have some coverage. And this was on the EVA side of Hawaii Hall. I actually don't know if that emergency call box is still there. It was one of the old ones. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see what the coverage looks like. Some of the questions were about parking lot coverage. It's pretty interesting. I actually drove by our Leeward campus a few weeks ago. So I don't know so for those that haven't been there, they're one of the ones that actually have PV covering most of the parking lot, which was previously uncovered. When I drove by on probably a Saturday or a Sunday, so a bunch of cars parked there. And so when I went into or under the covered area, they actually have pretty decent coverage into a pretty good size, a pretty good amount of the parking lot, which means that you could literally drive in, and if you're a UH student or staff, you could drive in, pop your laptop open, and do your work or do your or do your Netflix or whatever. Yeah, we don't block on our network because we have pretty broad use. Blade's question: prefer strict information GUI user. I'm open and understanding that the term of the hack might make a really friendly GUI hard to do. So I think that's part of where the challenge sits is, how can you define something that would be usable? And this would be usable to the target audience is a non-technical manager or a non-technical person that has to manage resources that that serves the campus. So again, the idea is to be able to paint maybe multiple layers in presentation, depending on what you're trying to present. The preference would be a user-friendly GUI, but sometimes the controls are pretty hard to do given the time frame of the hack. So you might want to think about how you manage the project from a development standpoint and deployment standpoint. I know the code review, there's not a lot of time. There's probably like 2-ish weeks before the code review segment starts. So you have to be pretty careful about planning to make sure that you can finish stuff to deliver so that you can get into the judging round. I know some folks in past hacks have talked about deploying something and then also providing, kind of a phase 2, phase 3. This is what we're planning to do. So that's one way to take the approach. Again, you should plan it out so that you can make sure you finish something so you can deliver and get stuff judged. But that also takes a look at how simple or how reasonable you can define the user interface. Hopefully that's useful. Yeah, I know. I actually don't do too well outdoors either, so for somebody, you gotta just go to the windows every once in a while. I actually get enough sun going between my car and the building. So, any other questions? Good questions. I am pretty open from a presentation point of view. So the Viz aspect is really the part that's open. So I don't have any kind of preconceived notion as to what that should look like. You can, so if you do a visualization search, just do a Google search, there's all kinds of mapping products. There's some GIS products that do this, do some mapping presentations. There's Google products as well. So if if you need ideas, take a look there. And then again, the challenge of the hack is to try and figure out how you operationalize it so it's something that can be used. See, I think our time is actually extended until about 2 o'clock. Is that the message that just popped? I think so. Okay. So I will continue. I recently used plugin. Oh, good suggestion. Thank you. Thank you, Leighton. Yeah, there's actually a bunch of tools. I mean, this problem is pretty common to a lot of different data sets. There's a bunch of tools around visualization, and it's a big deal these days. If anybody's interested in the high end of the Viz realm, for those that haven't seen Jason Lee's Lava Lab, it's located on the first floor of Keller. Super cool stuff. They actually have a bunch of YouTube videos posted as well. So if you look up Jason Lee, Leigh, and Lava Lab, LAVA, they actually post a whole bunch of YouTube videos on their visualization projects. So Jason is actually one of the global leaders in Viz. Super smart, You would never know it if you passed him on campus. So literally, you know, beard, t-shirt, shorts, sandals, regular guy. He's a really good guy, very bright, and literally one of the top 2 or 3 people in Viz in the world. So if he actually isn't from here, but he wanted to come here because he likes the outdoors. He likes to be outside. He visits. I think he does some of his summers in South Pacific, doing teaching and research. So we're very lucky that he joined us a few years back. Yes, definitely Don Patrol. He's a really cool guy. He's super humble and amazingly bright. And again, if you look at some of the YouTube videos that are posted around the Lava Lab, a lot of that work is actually done by his grad students. It's phenomenal work, and he does a bunch of remote teaching as well. For those that can peek in there, inside that first floor of Keller on the left-hand side of the hallway is his Lava Lab facility, and then down at the end in what used to be our UH data center, we ITS actually still occupy the space, but we share it with Jason's Lava Lab and our Hawaii Data Sciences Institute. So there, if you look kind of straight down the hallway where we used to have the cubby holes, so old people remember this, the cubby holes where you put your card decks and your printouts. If you look past that, where into the raised floor area of what used to be the old data center is actually one of his newer cyber canoes, which is the high-end visualization multi-screen display. So that one is probably 6 or 8 feet tall and probably 20 to 24 feet long. Pretty decent, pretty big. Super cool display that you can do all kinds of stuff with that display. And he does use it for his CS classes, including the classes that he teaches at other campuses. Yeah, super cool guy. Anyway. Other questions? It looks like we have a few people that dropped. Let's see, I have the HACC Slack channel set up so that I do get pinged on messages on a regular basis. I will also drop my email address in the chat. So if folks need to, want to reach out separately to ask questions, I'm happy to do that. If you want to drop it into the Slack channel, I'm happy to answer them there as well. Let's see. Okay. I'm a little curious, of the folks that are thinking about teams, I'm assuming a bunch of you are either UH or UH students. Do we have folks that are non-UH students in the teams as well?
Yes. Yes.
Sounds like we did a couple maybe.
Yeah, we have some HPU.
Good. Sounds like some grads as well, and yeah, good. Some from other schools. Good to hear. Yeah, I actually have been in pretty long ongoing discussions with some folks at both Chaminade and HPU about their programs. We we actually work jointly with, what's her name is Helen Turner out of Chaminade. So Chaminade has a pretty decent, is actually an up and coming data science program, as well as some other really good technical programs. And we actually collaborate with Helen Turner from Chaminade in our Data Sciences Institute. I've also been working with, I'm going to forget his name now, Larry Rowland from HPU. He actually had one of his capstone projects last year and the year before that we worked together with a bunch of students in his class, his HPU class, together with some CIOs from the local hotels. Oh, cool! Mililani High School, awesome, awesome. I think last year or the year before, I'm trying to remember which year it was. The high school students did very well in the competition. Looking forward to it. Good to see a good mix. We usually see a bunch of folks out of Phil Johnson's class as well. I'm not sure, is he still doing has he tied one of his classes to the HACC like he did in previous years? I'm not sure. Yeah. So Phil's actually got a very interesting, he has a high value reputation with the local employers. So there are a number of local companies that go directly to Phil to ask for internship requests and for recommendations on graduates. So that's, he's a good guy to know. And his classes have been, the folks that have taken his classes have done very well in our community. So high demand, there is a very high demand for the students that he sends out into the community, in particular around software engineering and software development. So should listen to him. He's got some good stuff to say. And and he's another guy he's pretty laid back and very smart in this area. Very impressed. Okay. Let's see. So I think we're going to stay here until 2, and then they're probably going to do, I suspect they're going to do another contest at the end. So, and if folks want to stick around, then I believe there's at least one more contest coming in the main room after the challenge rooms are finished. Hope that's useful. Other questions? A little bit of a long day for some people. We actually just held yesterday. We just, we ITS normally do an all hands IT specialist workshop for technical staff across the UH system. So obviously not this year, not in person this year, but we typically would get somebody from every campus and maybe 150 to 180 people in person once a year. So we did it on Zoom yesterday. We made it a little bit shorter. Instead of a full day event, we cut it off at about 3 hours. So obviously we had to tweak the program a little bit, but the session was pretty well attended. And I think, while it doesn't give you the same face-to-face experience and opportunities for old friends to catch up and to make new friends, it still gives us a chance to come together and share stuff. So did 3 hours worth yesterday morning. went pretty fast. Kind of like today. I think today's gone reasonably well, especially given some of the shuffling logistics that the hack team has had to put together. So compliment them on that. It is hard. It does make it very difficult on the organizers when you have to shuffle people around, but it is getting better. And you know, a little bit of a risk that it is a new Zoom function, literally that was just released a few weeks ago. I can tell you that one of our folks was on a call the day after that particular feature was released by Zoom, and some of it didn't work. Fortunately, I think it actually worked very well today. So everybody that was on the current version, I think, was able to navigate all of the different breakout rooms and hop back and forth. The previous to that feature being released, the host actually had to assign people in and out, which made it really difficult for anything except small meetings. So I'm glad the pieces got to work pretty well. And I think most people have been able to navigate in and out pretty easily. So kudos to the hack sponsors to being able to make it happen. Okay, 15 minutes to go. Questions? Anybody have questions about ITS? Yes, we do hire people. Interest, so just kind of some raw numbers. ITS is about 150, about 160 full-time staff. We currently run between 100 and 120 student employees, and that's on a very regular basis. So we have students in all parts of our operations. So we have students at help desk, reception, network operations, campus network, break fix, repair, AV operations, conferencing operations, software development, cyber infrastructure, again, spread out all over the place. So we had this discussion, I think, at the Revacom breakout session for one of the sponsors, but we have a lot of the same kinds of needs that a decent size commercial operation has. You have more or less emergency calls. we actually don't track the emergency calls. Those go to DPS, campus services, directly. I think the number is lower, much lower than in normal semesters. I can tell you that the traffic, the call-in traffic at our help desk is up significantly though. So we do statewide help desk. Most of the questions come in by email, help@hawaii.edu. We do have a local number as well as a toll-free number for the neighbor islands. I can tell you that the call volume is up significantly than in previous years. Obviously, a lot of it is around how do you connect stuff and how do you make stuff work. And I'm having problems setting up my Zoom thing, and what happens when my connection is not so hot. So on the help desk, we do have a significantly higher, and it's steady. It's not like in normal semesters where it goes up and down at the start, midterms, and finals. It's held pretty constant through the semester. We do actually staff our help desk 24/7, so there is always a live body here at all times. And we've combined help desk and operations, so that area also monitors our data center activity, which is on, for those of you that saw the picture that Michael showed in the other challenge, it's that second floor data center is also where the operations center is located. Yeah, graveyard shift is hard. It's super hard, especially if you have like classes during the day and then you do graveyard, so your sleep schedule is hard to manage. But it's super important to us because we have a strong preference to keep all of those shifts manned at all times. So even on graveyard, we typically try to do at least one and preferably two staff, as well as the same number of students. Yeah, it's hard. If you've ever tried to manage that kind of sleep schedule, especially when it's not the same every day, it's actually really hard. We've had a couple of staff that basically live for that thing. We have a couple of staff that have been on graveyard literally for decades. That's their normal time. I think a couple of them have day jobs as well, so they manage like a couple of 8-hour things. It clearly is a lifestyle choice. Some people like it just because, but it's hard. It's always important when we try to bring people into the organization. That's one of the hardest. That and weekend and holiday coverages are one of the hardest things for us to cover. We, I don't know, I'm trying to remember. Typically we don't have. I'm trying to remember if we have everything filled right now. So I think we're full on current slots. But frankly, if we find somebody that's super or that has skills, but that is interested in second or third shift, we will typically try and bend our rules a little bit to figure out how we can get folks on board, because those slots are so hard to find the right kind of person that fits that shift and wants and has chosen to make that the kind of time shift in their schedule. Yeah, I've known some people that I've heard of a couple of folks that moved to Japan so that they can do night shift on the East Coast. I might have it backwards. But you can do interesting things, especially when everybody is working remote these days. Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's hard. We've been fortunate so far that we've been able to staff all 3 shifts, and that also we've been able to cover like weekends and holidays. And again, some people just like having the extra days in different spaces in the week. But it is a challenge to make sure that we always have somebody, or we have people available to do those spaces. So, one of the interesting things in our staffing is to try and figure that one out. We did choose early on to make a firm statement that we wanted to make sure that all of those shifts were staffed, primarily because of the nature of the infrastructure. And then, with everybody, especially now with everybody remote, we do get support calls from, including not just from students, but from faculty and staff at sometimes some weird hours. Before it was the folks that are on travel, but nowadays it's just, that's just the way it is. Some people are choosing to do different hours. Some people use the shift in work hours so they can spend more time with their kids. So a lot of, or sometimes, well, depending, sometimes the kids have to attend school at home. So even more so, and having the ability to shift those hours is actually pretty useful in some cases. But it is hard. It's super hard to manage it, and you have to manage it. Otherwise, you just get really tired really fast. And everybody jokes about it every once in a while, but yeah, this isn't something that we want somebody to show up and go sleeping at work. So something to keep an eye on. Anyway, sorry, rambling on, kind of bouncing all over the place. Other questions, other things that are of interest? I think I am pretty sure they're going to post all of the presentations, and I think they're also going to post recordings too. So they're going to break out the individual presentations, that I think post them separately. My deck has been uploaded, so the HACC organizers can post those as well. Yeah, and then again, if anybody has information that they think would be useful, I won't promise that I'll provide all the information requested, but I'll at least listen and see what we can do. So do the best we can. Okay. Looks like we got the hardcore 7 people left, plus Mary and myself. Let's see. I don't know if we have coordinate data. Let me see what we have available. I am pretty sure we don't have that long coordinate data. It is, I mean, you do have the building name, but again, not locations. Let me see what I can find, and I will let you folks know. I do know that we were looking at, and again, we've been actually trying to review this mapping thing for a while now, from dating back to the early 2000s. But I thought we actually had some overlays, but I don't know if they were finished. Let me see what we have available, and again, if it's shareable, I will share it on the Slack channel. Yeah, right. Weekends. Yeah, hopefully make better use of your time than just typing this stuff in. But and so you could also, so here's another proposal. If I can't get you, exact lat long, you could do a stylized presentation that doesn't necessarily have the exact location, but that maybe puts it on not the hard map, but puts it on a map that's representative based on the way that the data shows up. So anyway, let me see what I can find, and I will let you know. Yeah, I wouldn't want to have you spend a whole ton of time typing stuff in. I think the archivist one was pretty interesting. They should probably have just fed it to Google and see what Google can do with it. Yeah, right. And again, it's what you can do with the data that's useful. It doesn't have to be as granular as down to the 1 foot or 2 foot level. But at the building layer, at least we would know where the use points are. If you look at the data, you'll also see that where we have a lot of classrooms in a building, or a lot of either classrooms or conference rooms in a building, you'll actually see more coverage on the different floors. I think Manoa doesn't have a lot of tall buildings. We probably only have a very small number that go above 4 or 5 stories. So the building concentrations is also pretty interesting, depending on how the access points map out. So you could see the distribution within the building by sorting or filtering on the building column. At least then you could see what the density looks like in the different buildings. And then you can obviously tell which ones are heavy classroom buildings versus not. Okay. Any last words, last questions, wrap up? Looks like we got about 3 minutes to go before I want to make sure everybody gets to the contest. I'm interested to see who the winners were in the other contests. Happy to help. There's no stupid questions. Just ask. Either drop it in the Slack channel or drop me a note and try and figure this out. And again, you're going to be constrained by the timing of the challenge, and when things have to be submitted. So make sure you plan out how to hit those specific milestones where there's hard dates. That's pretty important. Spend some time doing design, and spend some time thinking about how to work the problem. But remember that you're going to have to hit those hard dates for judging purposes for the competition. So always keep those in mind. And if you decide to take on a lot of stuff, make sure you plan it in a way such that you can shed load if you're not going to hit the date, so that you have at least stuff to turn in. I don't want you folks to get to a point where you do a whole bunch of work and then you just miss deadlines by a couple of days, and then you end up with no result to get judged. So make sure you keep those dates in mind as you plan your project effort. So project management 101. Alrighty, counting down 2 minutes, 1 minute. Let you folks get back to the main session. Thank you for the questions. Questions were really useful, very helpful. Hopefully the discussion was helpful for everybody. And the recording should be saved, and I believe is going to get uploaded to either the GitHub or the HACC channel, so that you can access this later on. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you, Garrett. Thanks for everybody for attending. See you back in the main room.
Alrighty, take care.